2024. There's some work going on in our home, so right now I'm in my car, so this will have to do for today. But hopefully we will be able to have the AMA without any noise, because this is pretty isolated here. Welcome, and thanks for joining our AMA today. What I'll do is go over what has transpired over the last few weeks of testing, and let you guys know, what are the next steps. Let's go through the. Let me see the browser. Okay. As you can see, the number of issues have increased to 38. If you look at the mainnet before, it was like 27 issues. Last time we talked, it's about 38. Most of them are based on are mostly on tests, system tests. So they're not as relevant to what we need, but there are some additional ones like store last finalized block in RocksDB MPT issues that Peter is looking at. Those are some of the things that we are looking at in terms of the testing. So there are a couple of things that happened during the testing. We basically uncovered the size of the MPT is growing more than it should for the miners and sharders, and we're taking a look at that. It shouldn't grow that fast. So that's something we're working on. That is currently and then there was a problem with the sharders going down. That's been fixed. There was a sync issue. So that's been fixed, and let me see. Let me look at the. Yeah, so if you go through the list, you will see that there are a couple of things like sharder stability issue, which has been fixed, but we're gonna monitor that as we do more testing. Currently, there are testing going on the beta network. You probably don't see it, but there is Cypress testing, which is an automated test that we're doing. We're also doing manual tests on the beta network. We're making sure that as we stress the beta network, or as things go down, which it did, like miners going down, sharders going down, the apps should still work. And if it doesn't, we want to know why it's not working. And then we also want to know why the disk space is a problem for miners and sharders. And those are the things that we are working on, and hopefully we'll get resolution of them toward the end of this week. And so the plan is to do the manual test and Cypress test on beta network for this week. Once we feel comfortable, we will switch over we'll redeploy the network. And so the redeploy is scheduled for next week, October 7th. Maybe we can do it sooner. We'll see. Actually, it'll be October 5th. I'm sorry, this is not right. Yeah, so, and then we'll do some repetition of the tests, and that will go on until probably the 10th. And then, we can make a call if we can go with the release that we are doing for the redeployment, or do we need to do an additional release for the mainnet. So the hope is that once we do this deployment on October 5th, that will be the release for the mainnet. And so if it passes tests, then essentially we are mainnet ready, and then we will launch the mainnet. So in terms of what are the items that are left, split key Bluetooth is going well. We expect that to finish this week. It'll be incorporated in the app, so you'd be able to test it. Then we have the Zero Box, which is our materialization view of the blockchain and blobbers. That's something we're gonna be doing a high availability implementation. That's something we're working on because that's very important for the blockchain. So that will happen probably this week, and may go over the next week. So there are other things that we're doing, like a load testing, benchmarking. That's part of the zero box high availability in terms of characterizing how well it's going to behave under pressure. But that's something that's going to be ongoing, but we expect that to conclude in a couple of weeks. Video streaming is basically done. There's a transcode part of it that is still need to be tested, but video streaming is now done. And then there are a couple of other features that we're doing, like the sharders keep list. This came about because we don't want to ping the sharders too much, and we want to make sure that if one of the sharders is down or several of the sharders is down, we have an optimistic protocol in terms of talking to sharders that are up and running. But if the sharders are down, and if we want to be consistent with the group of sharders, so we want to have a smaller subset of sharders that a client talks to on a regular basis, as opposed to randomly talking to everybody, or randomly talking to a subset. So this will help in processing faster, and that's something that we want to do with this particular feature. And it's kind of important, and it came out based on the testing that we have done on the beta network. Sync, this is also going well. This should be completed probably September 30th. I know that for Mac it is almost done, and Windows it is done, but it needs to be tested. MPT size, as I mentioned, this is a critical feature that we need to be sorted out before mainnet. So we expect that to be sorted out this week. All right. So again, the next steps for mainnet launch is continue doing testing, manual testing, and Cypress testing till the end of this week. We'll evaluate how things are going, and then we will announce redeployment or upgrade sometime next week, because we need some time to merge all the code and do tests, load tests and benchmark tests and things like that. So it's not that simple to do a redeployment or do a release, because right now we have one code running on mainnet, which is different on active set, which is different from the code that we are gonna release with. So because we have a lot of fixes, and we have a lot of features added to the new release, so that's something we will do starting end of this week, because we're gonna merge a lot of code, and then we will upgrade and then repeat the tests. Okay. And then the plan with the mainnet readiness and launch, this will pretty much happen very we don't want to like wait too long. There's no we don't want to market, we don't want to do a countdown. The what we want to do is have all of this accomplished, basically launch the mainnet, launch all the apps, make sure it's all working, and then we will start the countdown to announce people in public, hey, it's gonna be live, it's gonna be open for business. But actually, in reality, it's already on. But it's just we want some additional verification that it's all working before we announce to the world. So that's kind of the plan, and and so that's the current plan. Now, what I'll do is I'll go through some of the questions, and let's see. There we go. Okay. I see the questions. Let me put them up. There are 3 questions. So the first question is, why isn't there a focus on user-friendly blockchain, clear documentation, and a reliable SDK for Zeus? The current setup is frustrating. It takes a long time to figure out how to use it. How can this be addressed? So this is something. It wasn't our focus, to be honest. We have documentation. I understand it's not totally user friendly. It requires presumption of knowledge about blockchain, presumption of knowledge about storage, and so forth, and Linux. So what we want to do is make it simple. So this is something that our focus will shift once we sort out mainnet, and we are getting there, and we have started the process of documentation. Actually, we're doing now clear internal documentation to make sure we onboard new guys on our team very quickly, so that the process is set up very well. We Since we have more documentation for the public facing, we will need to basically have a process to make it easier for people to deploy. Today we have a lot of steps, so what we need to do is basically write a script to automate a lot of those steps. So that's something we will focus on doing going forward, so that there are less steps to do. And then if the script is good, it will talk about errors if you're working in a different environment. Because one of the problems people have is it works really well on Linux, but then when you go to Windows environment, it doesn't work very well, and that's been an issue. Okay, question 2. What do you think of Chainlink's bridge, and how do we compare it in terms of security? To be honest, I haven't looked at Chainlink's bridge, and I don't know, if there's any new technology out there that they're using, or new protocols that makes their bridge better than others. But in terms of security, you want your token bridge to be very secure, because if there's a hack, then there's a problem. And we are trying to make sure that even if there's a hack, let's say there's a hack on our bridge, we can mitigate the disaster, we can mitigate the problem. So that's how we approach it, that regardless of what we're doing, we are making sure that even if there's a hack, somehow if there's a hack, which we don't expect, but let's say there is a hack, then what can we do to prevent a problem? And that's how we are approaching our security. I don't know how Chainlink does it, but we'll definitely take a look at what they have done, if they have done something different from what others are handling it. There's not that many innovations out there. I mean, there are things that you can do to prevent a breach, and that's what we are trying to do. And obviously, there are a lot of tools out there, that go through your Solidity contract to make sure that there's no security hole in your Solidity contract. So we have already gone through all of that, and that's what basically an auditor would do. They would go through the security. They would run a set of tests to make sure that the contracts are safe, and that's what we have done. We have made sure all our contracts are secure. But even if there's a hack, we want to make sure that we limit the damage, and that's something that we have done in our protocol. Okay, the last question is, now that the apps are live on ActiveSet, can you walk us through some features in the MA? I've tried Vault, but I'm unable to upload a file. It would be nice to see how this is done and some of the apps live in action. So we will, what we will do is we will have videos. So we have, first of all, if there's a problem, you should go to Discord and let let us know what the problem is. Sometimes the problem is the network is not stable, which it has been in the last, I would say, few weeks. It has been unstable because we're either changing the network, or there are some problems with the network, which we uncovered recently. But there are also some um, problems with the app, and that's something we're fixing. There were about, I think, 500 issues that our professional testers kind of uncovered, and I think we solved about 450 of them in the last few weeks. So there has been a lot of progress, and we hope the number of issues have come down to a few. I think there are about less than, as I said, about 50 to 70 left to be done. So we expect that to conclude this week or next week. And then, we're focusing on mobile and desktop, and going um, through those bugs as well. So we expect all the apps to work in the next week or 2 weeks, and then what we'll do is create some videos for you guys to take a look at. Um, these are videos that something that the community can generate, or somebody from our team can generate initially. We also have videos for our advertisements, and those are already done. I think let me switch back to mainnet. Yeah, all the videos and ads are done, so we're pretty much ready to go on the marketing side. And we will start to go as we get more testing on the beta network. So right now, all our testing we're doing on beta network and demo network to make sure all the apps are working, and then we'll start to publicize people to have test the apps on either the demo network or the beta network, because they should be all working. If you encounter any problems, please go to Discord and let us know what the error is, because as I said, we have our professional testers have uncovered about 500 issues. We've closed 450 of them, and if there's any more issues, we would like to know. We cannot, we can't test everything. We are testing some variations, obviously, like the Chrome browser or the Safari browser. If you're using a different browser, maybe there's a problem that we haven't looked at. Same thing goes with the iOS and Android. There's so many variations of devices that we have. Well, iOS in terms of the versions of devices, and Android, they have different companies making different phones and different OS on the Chrome side. So there is there's a lot of variations. So if you can do testing and let us know what platform you're using, then that will help us. All right. Okay. So that's all the questions. I don't see any more questions. So I'm hoping that in the next couple of weeks we get the redeployment and some testing done, so that I can finally say, hey, we are going to mainnet now, and basically we're done with our project for the first release, and we'll be excited to go to mainnet, because it's been 6 years, 6+ years actually, more than 6 years. So but I do see that we're getting there, we're getting very close. We're testing on the real network. I mean, beta network. If you look at the active set network, which is beta.zeus.network, it is the mainnet. Essentially, this is a simulation of the mainnet. If all the apps are working, if all the miners and sharders are functional, and their disk space is not growing the way it shouldn't grow, everything looks good, then we go to mainnet. We're also deploying our blobbers. We just deployed 5 blobbers. We're gonna deploy another 10, probably somewhere within some in US, some in Europe. So that's something we are working on. So that will probably happen in the next week. And so we will be essentially all the apps will be ready, all the infrastructure should be ready on the storage side. I know there are a lot of people, a lot of active set guys are also having blobbers, so we will have a lot of blobbers from the get-go when the mainnet is operational. So that's gonna be exciting to see, and then if once we start advertising, once we start getting momentum, we will see how the network behaves. Is it similar to what we tested on the load test, and is it similar to what we tested in simulation? So those are there will be little variances, but for the most part, it should be similar to what we have load tested on our network. So it'll be exciting to watch that, and exciting to grow the network. All right. So till then, thank you very much for watching the AMA. Exciting times ahead for the next 2 weeks. Let's hold on tight, um, and then when we call the active set into action, hopefully we'll get the redeployment done very quickly, because now everybody is here, because last time people were on vacation. So hopefully we can get the active set up and running with the redeployment sometime next week, and then if all the tests pass, then we're good to go to mainnet. And so that's it. All right, thank you guys. Thank you for watching.